Good morning, everyone. Good morning. This glorious day. Thank God we woke up and here we are. We're alive. It's not self-understood. Can't take anything for granted. It's all amazing gifts and miracles. Here we have charity, charity, charity. Even doesn't make any difference how small. Give every day. Give. Remember, get yourself used to giving to others. No, don't think so much about receiving, but giving. Okay, yesterday we learned we're sort of in the middle. This idea, which is very, very essential, very basic to Judaism and Hasidut, really makes a big point of reminding everybody of this. And that is how important this physical world is. And to the degree that it says in Pirkei Avot is the chapters of the lessons of the fathers, the founding fathers of the great rabbis of the Talmud. And it says over there that it's better one moment of doing tshuva and good deeds in this world than all of the life, than all of the pleasures of the world to come. World to come here is intention is that the after you die. So after you die, there's tremendous, tremendous pleasures awaiting us because we've done Torah and the commandments. Torah and the commandments, and you go according to the Torah. You get revelations of godliness. As far as I understand it, God never remains a debtor. So if you do good deeds, then you always get rewarded. There's always some sort of reward, but it's very hard to figure out what exactly is a good deed. Let's say, for instance, you have an SS Nazi that he was totally devoted to his cause, and he thought the best thing in the world was to kill anyone that stood in the way of the Third Reich. So he massacred like anyone who was a Slav or a Gypsy or a Russian and just women and children and babies. And he massacred them with this, and he thought he was just doing the most glorious and self-sacrificing thing that could possibly be. He went nights without sleeping and days without eating in order to go and kill people and to rob and to steal and to rape and to do Attila the Hun or something like that. And is that good or is it bad? I mean, they were doing with self-sacrifice. What is it? So the answer to that is, it seems to me, is that it's according to the Torah. That the Torah decides what's bad and good. And even if a person doesn't know what is written in the Torah, but nevertheless, if he does good according to what is written in the Torah, because the Torah is the only time that God actually told all mankind what he wants from this world. There's other times when individuals came from the desert and said, I had a revelation, I saw something, I knew something. And then his pupils, a few hundred years later, they wrote it down. Here we have in the Torah that God personally, whatever that means, he appeared in front of 3 million people, took them all out of Egypt, and they all saw and they heard and they felt the creator of the universe tell everybody what he wants. They all saw and they heard. So there's no comparison to that in the history of the world. So and it says that when God gave the Torah, that his voice permeated all being. So everybody somehow or other knows what's right and wrong from that time. So if you do good because it's written in the Torah, because God gave it to Moses in the Torah, so then it's a special big reward that you get according to the Torah. And if a Jew does it, it's even a higher reward. So I don't understand these things about rewards and bigger rewards and lower rewards and going to heaven. What heavenly rewards are, I really don't understand. I mean, I understand a little bit about physical rewards. You look in your bank account, and instead of $1,000, you see that there's $10,000. Oh, that you feel good. You feel good. You have you see your children graduating or getting married or something. You feel good. What are the pleasures of feeling good in heaven? I don't know, but it says it's infinitely more so than in this physical world. And that, I think, applies even to, and let's say, a non-Jew, that he just is a nice guy and he helps old ladies across the street and he's an honest person and everything. They also get rewards. Because God doesn't remain a debtor. But if a person does it because it's written in the Torah and he does good deeds, then that person gets a special, big, amazing revelation of godliness. Says the Rebbe, and what is this revelation of godliness? It's more than just the godly force that creates the world. The godly force that creates the world, that's one type of godliness. That's also a big reward. But if you do according to the Torah, then it's even a higher sort of revelation of God. It sort of goes out of the category of a reward almost. It's almost like saying to a person, okay, you won the Powerball, right? In whatever it is, the big lottery in America, and you just won $10 million. So, whoa, $10 million. That's amazing. That's great. The person's so happy. So, sorry, we made a mistake. It's $10 billion. Woo. Now what's the difference between 10 million and 10 billion? Maybe big businessmen, they know 10 billion. You have to think about it. It says, I'm sorry, sir. We made a mistake again. I don't know how we did it, but it's $10 trillion. You have to get advisors to tell you what to do. Then they call you up and they say, I'm sorry, we made a mistake. You won the whole world. Okay, now what does that mean? What does it mean you won the whole world? What are you supposed to do with it, right? And the pleasures of heaven are greater than the pleasures of the whole world. So this is incomprehensible, right? We don't know what it means. Nevertheless, it's true. Okay. This is why? Because it's pure godliness. Pure godliness. So a person that did Torah and the commandments, whatever, so he gets pure godliness. Okay. So now the question is okay, good. How can a soul, which is just a creation, no matter how high the soul is, how can it receive revelations from God himself? God himself. It's just like the same thing. Like somebody says, you just won a big prize. The whole entire universe, Uranus and Neptune and, whatever it is, the all the stars in the heavens and everything, it's all yours. What does that mean? What are you going to do with it? So I forgot to tell you, also all the angels. The angels are all yours, and this you can do whatever you want to, anything you want to. What do you want to do? I don't know. How many steaks can you eat? How many, tell people to control the whole world. So what are you going to tell them to do? Shine my shoes. How many shoes you got? What are you going to do with it? And the pleasures of heaven are greater than all the pleasures of all the worlds with all the, the whatever is it, the cosmos and the angels. Okay, so what does it mean? How are you supposed to receive? How can we even receive this? It doesn't mean anything. What does it mean? Says the Rebbe, yes, it does mean. And after a person dies, so he gets all these tremendous pleasures. How can you receive these pleasures? And the point we're going to get to is that doing good deeds in this world is worth all of these heavenly pleasures, the highest pleasures you can get. Okay, but now we're building up to this. How could it be that doing one good deed in this world is worth more than all the pleasures of the world to come? Okay, so here we go. This is okay. Let's do this little by little. You get these tremendous pleasures in the world to come after you die, if you did the Torah, the commandments, right? So now the question is, how can Tzorech Lahavin? We have to understand. How is it possible? We have to understand. How is it possible that the soul is V'chinas Nivra, which is the soul is just a creation? How can it receive from the essence of the Creator? Yeah, let's make this bigger. Make it reader friendly. How can the soul, which is the soul, is just a creation, yesh v'davar, a physical, a separate thing, a creation of God on its own, and it's an individual a unit. The soul is my soul is not your soul. Your soul is not. Everybody's soul is different. So if so, it is separate. How can it possibly receive the essence of godliness, which cannot possibly be understood, which is unlimited? And even though it says that the soul, yes, it's true that the soul, Jewish soul, that the Jewish soul, a Jew has two souls, a natural soul and what's called a godly soul. This godly soul is a part of God from above. That's what makes a Jew a Jew. It has this godly soul. This was an inheritance from Abraham. This is something like Tipa Tazera. This is something like, we learned this before. Even though the Jew has what's called a godly soul, and the godly soul is, how do you say, the materialized godliness, just like the drop of semen of the father in order to give birth. How does this seed of the father, how does it have the power to give birth? It says it began with the power of birth in the brain. The brain, the essence of the soul of the father comes is the essence of the consciousness of the father, the essence of the soul of the father. There is contained in a very potential form, spiritual form, the power to give birth. And this somehow or other is in the brain, just like the soul is in the brain. Your consciousness is in the brain. And this special power of giving birth, that it comes down, this is, I guess, according to Kabbalah, maybe according to Judaism anyway, it comes down through the spine and it becomes more physicalized, more relevant to be physicalized until it comes out into a physical seed from the father. It's not possible to say that when this physical seed of the father is in its source in the brain, that it was a somehow or other physical drop. If so, when the person gave birth, it would lack something from his brain. But the truth is, no, that first of all, it was drawing from the brain. It was spiritual alone. But somehow or other, as this spiritual power of giving birth came from the brain, it came down lower and lower through the spine. It had the ability to give birth. This is relevant, of course, in animals and everything. The power of giving birth is not a physical power. How did it come into the seed of the father? How did it come in? It somehow or other became physicalized. So it is also the same thing, the soul. The soul, even though the soul is pure godliness, the Jewish soul, even though the Jewish soul is pure godliness, nevertheless, it came down. And it's a whole chain of a system that it came down to be my soul. So if the godly soul is my soul, and this godly soul has the ability to perceive God, the question is how? When the godly soul is in the body, then it's physical. And the physical, maybe it can perceive spiritual, but it can't perceive the source of spiritual. How can it grasp mahut, how can it grasp the essence of God? So to speak, the soul, when it's in the body, can grasp higher ideas than it could before it came into the body. Before the soul came into the body, it was spiritual somehow or other. It was spiritual. And then it became less and less and less and less spiritual. And finally, it came into the body, but it was still godly soul. It has the ability to appreciate God. But it doesn't appreciate God. It appreciates godliness, aspect of God. But after the soul leaves the body, then it's in heaven. It can actually appreciate God. How can that be? Even when it goes up to heaven, it still is a creation. It's just not limited by the body. How can it be? In other words, the basic question is, how can the creation understand the creator? This is a very big problem in the world, because perhaps the worst sin in Judaism is idolatry. And this sin is in one of the 7 Noahide commandments also. It's forbidden for a non-Jew also. It's forbidden for a non-Jew to worship anything, pray to anything, except for the creator of the universe. You can ask for help. You can ask your father. You can go to a doctor, ask him to help. You can maybe ask angels to help you. You can beseech the angels that they should help you or give you advice or something like that. But you have to know that God is the only one you can pray to. To pray is only to God. But you can ask your next door neighbor to help you or to do something. You can ask also spiritual powers, but don't think that they are the creator. They're not the creator. So the Jewish people are relevant somehow or other to the essence of God. How can they be irrelevant to that? How can any creation be relevant, receive, comprehend, appreciate, experience the essence of God? How can it possibly be? It says, well, the answer to this is it says that Moses went into the cloud. That's what we got up to yesterday. Moses went into the cloud, and he was in the cloud 40 days and 40 nights. And he didn't eat any bread, and he didn't drink any water. 40 days and 40 nights. How did he do that? His body, his physical body, was nourished mimazon ruchni, from something spiritual. Like it says in Psalms, lechem abirim ochel esh, the bread of angels a man ate. Moses was fed by some sort of spiritual food. Come on, malachim, just like the angels. How could this possibly be? That a physical body, Moses was a physical person. He didn't like become vaporized or something. His physical body received spiritual food. There's totally separate one from the other. How was it? Because that's the cloud. It says that Moses went into a cloud. And this cloud has the amazing, magical ability to join godliness with spirituality. I mean, food, nourishment is a spiritual thing. It can join godliness with spiritualness. Spiritualness is already in the body. You're going to the soul. She Moshe, that Moses, Allah Hashem, upon him be peace, mitchaseh, should be covered in this cloud, and the cloud would have the ability to translate pure godliness into humanness. Excuse me. That's the idea of this cloud. This cloud, it came from the Oso case. Now, what about the cloud itself? Where did that come from? The cloud itself came from a tremendously high level of godliness. Tremendously high. But Shinishtalshel and Ishgashem, it just came down, Lebi Tiyod, Levush Moshe, that it could clothe Moses. All of a sudden. Okay, so here we go. What's our question? Our question is, Moses, as high and pure as he was, and he had a pure Jewish soul, nevertheless, all of this business is still somehow or other a creation. How could Moses receive pure godliness? And even more, how could he be nourished by pure godliness? How could it be? So he said the cloud. There was a cloud. And this cloud enabled Moses to receive from pure godliness. It's something like a translator, right? Translator. The president of America meets with the president of the United States, meets the president of Russia. Neither one of them understands the other one. There's a translator that's in the middle. The translator, he translates. Of course, here the translator is translating between, the president of Russia and president of America. They're both people. And the only difference between them is just the language difference. But here we have Moses and God. Moses is a person, and God is not a person. God is creating everybody. How he does it, there's another question, but God nevertheless creates everyone. And we're saying the power that God has to create everyone, that's not the essence of God. The essence of God. The essence of God is the source of the Torah. That's the source of the Torah. But that's the Torah doesn't, you look in the Torah, it's just like any other book. You can't feel the essence of God. The essence of God is what all the Jewish people experienced when God gave the Torah at Mount Sinai. It says that their souls jumped out of their bodies as soon as they heard the first two commandments. And they said, Moses, you get the rest. Okay, but Moses did get the rest. Moses, in fact, went into the source of it. What no Jew was able to accept in this physical world in a body, Moses went up in his physical body and he accepted it. He received the essence of God. How could it be? A cloud. It was a cloud. Says the Rebbe, if so, there's three things. There's Moses, there's God, and then there's the cloud. Moses and God are incomparably distant. Impossible that Moses could receive from the essence of God. And still remain Moses. He could become like, vaporized or something, but he couldn't receive from the essence. Even the angels don't receive from the essence of God. How did Moses receive? Through the cloud? It says, now let's look at this cloud. It says, this cloud, on this cloud, Shorsho, its source is from a very high level of godliness. But this cloud came down to be a garment for Moshe. That by means of this cloud, you would be able to understand godliness. It was a translator, not between one person and another person, one president and another person, between the creator of all being and an individual person. That's the cloud. And this cloud provided the food for Moses. It's just like a person that sees and looks at a tremendously bright light, looks at the sun, but he has to look through sunglasses or through a cloud. It's through a veil. And similarly, Torah, the mitzvahs. Okay, the same thing is nowadays we also have this cloud. What is the cloud? We have the Torah and the commandments. The Torah and the commandments, Maisios, their source comes from the essence of God, Miratzon Elyon. This comes from God's wisdom. And it enables us to receive all of these big revelations, this highest revelations, the essence of God in heaven. That these, the Torah and the commandments, that is the cloud. The Torah and the commandments are unified with the essence of God. Like it says, God is wisdom, but no known wisdom. That the Torah and the commandments, they are above this ray of the Shekhinah, of God's presence, which is revealed in the heavens. Shehi rak hispashtus achayos. So it's higher than anything in the world. So here we have, let's say we have now 3 levels. We've got this world and the godliness which enlivens this world. Then we have the godliness which is revealed in heaven. And then we have the cloud which unites them both. So the godliness which is revealed in this world is revealed in this world, and also in the heavens, it's also revealed. The heavens are also part of the creation. Then we have the godliness which comes from Torah and the commandments, the godliness. That's like pure God. That's pure godliness. That's too high to receive. And then we have the cloud, which somehow or other unites them both. So this cloud, in some ways, comes from the essence of the Creator himself. The ability to join these two things together. Something like, let's say in this world, let's say you have a genius. A person is a genius, right? Everybody doesn't know. I'm just taking an example, Einstein, right? Everybody doesn't know where gravity comes from. There's all of a sudden comes one person, a genius, and he unites between these infinitely high ideas and this world, right? Where did this person? No, but there's no one like him. That's a big exaggeration because there were a lot of people though, like Einstein. Arguably, they say Newton was greater. Any case, we have Einstein, right? And Einstein, nobody else is like him. He can unite between the essence of all of your problems, all the spiritual problems, which are far from every human being. You have no idea what it is, and he can explain it to you. He's a connector. So in order to be a connector, it has to come from a very, very, very high source. And because to be very high and understand these high ideas on yourself, that's one level. But to explain it to others, to bring it down, that's a special, unique gift. And that's the idea of this cloud. And that's the idea of the Torah and the commandments. Therefore, the Torah and the commandments is the same thing as the cloud. The Torah and the commandments are a go-between the essence of God and this world. They came down, and the Torah and the commandments, they have come down to be in matters, physical things in this world. For instance, what are tefillin made of? They're made from the leather of an animal, a cow. You have tzitzit, right? The tzitzit on your garment. What are they made from? They are made from the wool of a sheep. Charity comes from money, which money is made from minerals, right? But Kisha Adam, when a person does the commandments, when the person does the commandments or learns the Torah, Nasa Nishmato, then his soul becomes Nasa. They become his for his soul. The Torah and the commandments, they become for his soul garments, just like the cloud that Moses went into. That they are enclosed in them, in Gan Eden and Elyon, in the upper heavens, and etc. And by means of them, the soul is able, even though the soul is just a creation, to grasp a ray of the essence of godliness in the world. And that's what the commandments are. Okay, so that's the big problem. And if a person says that Judaism does not depend on Torah and the commandments, Torah doesn't. That's the big argument now going on in Israel, right? Big argument. The religious people, they don't want to go into the army, and the people that are in the army, they don't want to go and learn the Torah. Right? No way. Right? The country of Israel was founded on the idea that you don't need the Torah, you don't need the commandments, you don't need any Jewish. You're a Jew. Just that you live in Israel, you're a Jew. Well, true, it is. It is a very wonderful thing to live in Israel, and it is a very powerful thing. It's not a commandment, but it's a very powerful Jewish thing. But it's nothing compared to the Torah and its commandment. I mean, the whole reason that all the Jews Mashiach is going to bring all the Jews to Israel is because only in Israel can you really do all the commandments. So the main thing is the Torah and the commandments. So now the Rebbe is saying the Torah and the commandments is not just the basis of Judaism, and our book is the true book, and all the other religions, they have false books and everything. Here we're saying that the Torah and the commandments is the connector between the Creator and the whole entire creation. The whole entire creation, all the stars and all the nebulae and all these other, whatever it is, solar systems, whatever it is, and all the angels and all the spiritual angels and all the alien creations, the people on planet Zork or whatever, and all these, what are they called? The unidentified objects. What is it? What's the word for it? Anyway, all these, the invaders from other worlds and from other planets. Everything in the world is created through the Torah. The Torah is the connector from the Creator to reality, to existence. It's the source of all existence. Huh? Can you believe that? Well, that's what the Jewish people have to say. That's what the Torah is. And when the Jewish people learn the Torah, it's not like you learn any other book. Then that transforms the physical world into holiness. The land of Israel becomes the holy land. The commandments become holy. The Jewish people are a holy nation. It's all through the Torah. Why? Because the Torah comes from a source of godliness, which is infinitely, infinitely, infinitely higher than anything, even in the spiritual worlds. That's what it means. It's better. That's good. Better. One moment in tshuva, in returning to God, in being aware of God, and doing good deeds in this world, that their source comes from God's ratzon elyon, from God's upper will, like the cloud. It's better than all of the life in the world to come, which all of the life in the world to come, all these spiritual worlds, is just a ray of godliness. But it's a ray of godliness that a creation can't possibly appreciate. But through the Torah and the commandments that we do, we can appreciate it. Nevertheless, they're called garments, that by means of them, you are able to grasp and appreciate the essence of God. Okay, but now we have to understand another thing. It says that love and fear of God, that they are Godfim. They are just wings. This is Aramaic. Wings alone. Lagbia, to elevate the main thing, which is the Torah and the commandments. All right, here we go. And this is especially in the area, this is the special area of Chassidut. Loving God. It is a very important commandment to love God. After the motto of Judaism in Deuteronomy, what is it? Deuteronomy, I keep forgetting, 6:7. There's a commandment to love God. How are you supposed to love God? Okay, you can only love something which is really valuable. You can pretend. There's actors training school. You can train to be an actor. Well, you pretend to love someone or something, whatever. Right? You pretend. Romeo pretends to love Juliet, and it's really not Romeo. It's not Juliet. It's Sam Groyce and Miriam whatever is Bernstein, and they're two people, they don't even know each other, but they went to actor school and they learn how to pretend that they love each other to the degree that you look at that play and you start to cry. Oh, he killed her. She killed herself. Wherefore out thou? They're great. You can act, but that's not the commandment. The commandment in the Torah is to love God. And it says even more, there's 3 types of love. Each one is more, more intense than the other. You have to love God with all of your heart. That's the lowest level of loving God. Then you have to love God with all your soul. And then you have to love God with all of your might. What does it mean to love God? What does it mean to love God? So, I mean, basically, you can love God for what God does. He creates me. Thank you for God, right? Thank you. I appreciate it, God. You create me. That's okay. You can say it's the beginning of love. It's at least appreciation. It's appreciation. But love is based on, yes, appreciation, but it's based on something much deeper than just appreciation, right? You haven't got the proper change to get on the bus, and somebody gives you the proper change. You appreciate that person. Thank you very much. You help an old lady across the, right? That's an expression of that person's love to a certain degree, and one person to another person. You love humanity. But what does it mean to love God? Right? You love God. So you can love God for what He does for us. He creates us. He enlivens us. He protects us. And that's praising God. Appreciation brings to a higher level of love. But really what love is a deep inner connection, life connection. So to speak, appreciation of something unique in the other person, which is tremendously valuable. Tremendously valuable. That's what love is. So do we have, in other words, just appreciating God, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. But to love God with all of your heart, with all of your soul, that's not just simple appreciation. That means it's emotions. That means you actually get emotional. And emotional means you see something that's so meaningful and so valuable to you in the other person. Not necessarily that you can use it. Even more, you want it to use you. Right? Like you have a great leader or something like that. I can't, I'm sorry, but I can't think of a better example than this. I mean, it's a terrible example. But what can I think? What can I tell you? I mean, how people love bad things. Right? People are willing to do anything for bad things. So you have bad people. In Russia, they loved Stalin, Father Stalin. Everyone loved him. Every word that he said, they hung on love. Again, I can't. You ever see these pictures of the Nuremberg rallies? The Nazis used to make Nuremberg rallies. So the leader over there, Hitler, you shouldn't, I mean, I don't like to mention even his name, but if you see the look in the people's eyes, they pan across it, right? They have these, what was it? There was the thing, the victory of will or something like that. There was a movie, I think by Eisenstadt or somebody. He made a movie of it. You can look it up. Victor, you see the look in the people's eyes, the Hitler youth. You see the look in their eyes. He's here. He's touching me. He's in front of me. I'm in the same room as if there's like a million people there, and they're all looking. It's a terrible thing to say, but that was love. They were willing to give their lives. Everything for this person is so valuable. This is Germany. I feel now I'm a human being. From that, you can learn the opposite. What does it mean to love God? Love God means you appreciate God so much. He's so wonderful that you're willing to do anything. How can you do that? You see a person, you can see a person. We're supposed to love. So, nevertheless, we'll talk about how to love. All the books in the Chabad talk about that at very great length. How to feel God, how to appreciate what God is, the God that took us out of Egypt, the God that gave us the Torah. Okay, so we have to understand, what is this love? In Shema, it says, we say Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, that God is one. When we say that God is one, that's the cause for loving God. It says you have to make God rule. Lamaila Lamata, 4 directions of the world. Echad is Aleph, Dalid, Chet. Aleph, Chet, Dalid. Aleph is the oneness of God. Chet, it says, is the 7 heavens and the earth. And the Dalid, at the end of Dalid, Echad, are the 4 directions of the world. So what does it mean? We have to see that God creates the whole world. And the whole world is only being created by a little ray of godliness. So you think the world is real, and you love anything in the world, your house, your car. I remember when I was young, I lived in Detroit. There was a fellow who lived across the street from me. a non-Jewish guy, and he had two cars, and it was Detroit was like the car city, and he had two cars. I think it was the two convertibles. One was a Pontiac, and I think another one was a Chrysler or something. And they were really nice looking cars, and he used to polish them up every day. And he used to polish them up. I used to watch him like every day. He spent like 15 minutes on each car polishing them. And we look back, I saw he loved these cars. He loved them. You saw pure love in this person's eyes. He loved the cars. It was like his whole being would come out a couple of times every day and just look at the cars. Sometimes he would drive them around the block, very slowly to drive them. He loved the cars. The cars really were very, they were very attractive cars. Okay, the same thing. You saw love. You saw love. How can you love God? So if you love anything in the world, you have to understand that that thing is valuable to you, that God is creating that thing. And not only is he creating that thing, he's creating you. So let's think about what God is. If he can create something that's so good and lovable, so God himself must really be lovable. And that's going to be a hint at how to come to love God, as we're going to talk about more, God willing, tomorrow.